Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
But little did I know what came with that, you know?
Federal investigators who did not want to go on camera say that Rick started his drug empire as a cocaine delivery boy for the Curry brothers here in this eastside Detroit neighborhood near Dickerson and I-94. In fact, Rick and several members of his family lived here on this street, Hampshire.
At like 14 years old, Rick Wershe was a 14-year-old white kid, kind of in this all-black, no, he wasn't, it was all-black environment, and was very street-savvy and charismatic and had a magnetic personality. And even though he wasn't very well educated, he had an 8th grade education, he took to the street economics very well, had a really good head for numbers.
They kept talking about this kid. And, you know, he was just a kid. He was 17 years old. And when they would call him White Boy Rick, there were a lot of guys I represented. If they were real light, you know, somebody would say, they call him White Boy. So I just assumed the guy was a light-skinned brother. I didn't think he was really white.
He was just a white boy. It's almost like the Eminem effect. It's like, damn, this nigga just got skills. When I mean skills, some for real motherfuckers put him down, and he showed motherfuckers what it was like.
And I remember I was at home, and I get this phone call. And, you know, it sounds like any other street brother out of Detroit. And I say, hello, Steve? You know, yeah. He starts talking, this white boy. And I said, what? And he said a few things. I said, nah, this ain't no white boy. Who do you think you're talking? Who are you kidding? And he took about 3 minutes. It took him to persuade me that this was really White Boy Rick.
I went to school with the niggas. I went to school with a whole bunch of his homeboys. I used to ride past the little video shop they used to have up on the Ave over here. You know what I'm saying? I could see them niggas like 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the video shop, like, you know what I'm saying, chopping it up like, yeah, we them deals. You know what I'm saying?
Johnny Curry, who was in his late 20s and married to Mayor Coleman Young's niece. So as a result, he had a lot of big political pull, which then gave him a lot of pull on the streets. You know, Johnny Curry was driving around town in his Mercedes-Benz, and he had this 14-year-old white kid sitting next to him. For whatever reason, Wershe was able to make his way up in the Curry organization pretty fast, and Johnny Curry took a liking to him and kind of became a mentor. And for a couple years there, at 14, 15 years old, Wershe would be seen all around town with Johnny Curry, which automatically gave him a lot of pull, a lot of weight.
Over time, White Boy Rick gained the confidence of Johnny Curry and became his right-hand man.
They were getting money. Them niggas, you ain't never see their hall on 7 Mile?
Nope.
They own Holiday Hall. My father redid their whole hall.
I think that the government was very desperate at that time. You had a lot of members of the government that were working for these organizations, which was really undermining a lot of the work they were doing. And happened to be a convergence of circumstances where Wershe's father was a FBI informant in the 70s and had built a relationship with members of the DPD and the FBI. As a gun, he sold guns at trade shows and whatnot, and he was informing on some of the people he was selling guns to under the table. And as a result, they met the younger Wershe and just kind of saw him as someone that wouldn't have suspicion, and someone who was a fast learner.
One of the Detroit police that I've been talking to, I just told him, I said, Kevin, they said that I was Johnny Curry's drug supplier. He said, well, we know that ain't true. I said, the only reason I went around them is when I worked for you. He's the one that said, man, me and Greg are going to do whatever we can to get you out of there. He was DPD narcotic.
Well, how the hell you even get involved with the Currys? The Fed sent you to them?
I knew them, bro, but I started doing shit with them for them, bro.
In 1984, Rick nearly lost his life, surviving a shooting that was described as drug-related. Investigators found out that the Curry family had gotten word that Rick had been working as a drug informant, so they shot him.
And he almost got killed while he was doing it. He got shot when he was 15 years old by a Curry lieutenant. That there's lots of speculation on what the reasons surrounding it. Most of it centers around that Johnny Curry thought that Wershe was a mole and tried to have him killed.
Did they shoot you, though?
Some people say they did, some people say they didn't. We never really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well,
but you definitely got shot.
Yeah.
They had on masks or something?
No, it was in a house.
At that point, you would think that the government would kind of cease operations. They almost got this kid killed, but they saw it as an opportunity to put him back inside, and the thinking being that Curry would ease some of the tension. Well, I shot him and he almost got killed, and now he's coming back. So obviously, this was their thinking, that Curry would think, oh, he's probably not working for the government. If he was, he wouldn't be coming back to me.
Bro, they put me in the FBI put me in the hospital when I was 15 under John Doe. I couldn't have no phone, no nothing. Only one allowed to visit me or knew where I was my dad, Dawn, my grandma, and Rick's mom, and my mom.
Oh, so they was helping. They was protecting you.
Yeah, they thought that a motherfucker might try and kill me in the hospital like they did Rick.
Wershe just really became the only white person that could exist in that social scene and really had just as much respect as any black drug dealer that was, twice his age. He had just as much respect as them.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
And coming to you live from the PetPain.com studios in suburban Detroit tonight, as we do every night, Monday through Friday at 7 Eastern Standard Time. Pretty soon to be 7 Eastern Daylight Time. The sun's creeping down earlier, isn't it? Oh, what is this story about White Boy Rick? Does anybody know about White Boy Rick? I think we just told you mostly about White Boy Rick. That reporting from Charles Pugh. Charles used to work for WJBK in Detroit. That's the Fox affiliate, Channel 2. Charles no longer works with Channel 2. He left that job to become... It's interesting that he would report on the city council in Detroit, because one of the guys that was in that report that he's talking about was city council. Apparently one of the relatives of then Mayor... Mayor Young. I mean, this is going way back, isn't it? We're talking 30 years ago in time scale, 3 decades. You've got this 14-year-old kid riding in a vehicle with a drug dealer who's heavily connected to the rest of the community, both in way of criminal element, law enforcement, and additional to that, city council, people high up in government in Detroit. We're talking about also members of the FBI. Now, how does this story all tie together? Understand that Michigan at that time in the drug war passed the harshest sentence in America for what they considered drug kingpins. Life in prison, no parole. And this is a 14-year-old kid who the police are using as an informant, a juvenile. They're using him as an informant, and they're infiltrating him into the drug system. He gets shot. They don't shut the system down. They send him back out to try and make him look good, which he does. He gets even deeper into all of this for them. He's reporting back to them, the feds. He's a tool and an implement of the federal government on the drug war. That's who White Boy Rick was at the time. Yes, he was, consorting with a bunch of, hoodlums and people in the underworld. You have to understand that Detroit to this day is still much of that. But this was 30 years ago. White Boy Rick ends up being made a patsy, pretty much. I mean, he was a scapegoat. the federal government, in order to explain away their use of this guy as an informant, instead of protecting him, chose to charge him as a drug kingpin. Mr. Wershe getting life in prison with no parole for that charge. Since then, Michigan has modified its drug laws. It's taken the mandatory life, no parole law off the books. Obviously, that was a terrible failure. Let's put the people who are nonviolent, the people who aren't going to hurt you, behind bars. Let's put those guys there. The druggies, they're the ones that deserve to be behind bars forever. We can afford that, right? Look, I'm not saying that, enforcing the criminal justice system isn't a good idea. It probably is. I'm just saying that there's some sickness and illness inside the system that needs to be dealt with. This is an overt symptom of that, in my opinion. Mr. Wershe today was denied by the Michigan Court of Appeals a new sentence, saying that his old sentence was okay, that because he had been readjusted from life with no parole, because it was determined that juvenile offenders who were charged with this, that was an unconstitutional thing. So, and since they had modified the drug law, they changed his sentence to life. You can have parole. Mr. Wershe's been in front of several parole board hearings since that time. Many people that have done anything close to what they accused Mr. Wershe of doing have since come and gone in the prison system in Michigan. There are people that killed, murdered people that are back out on the streets since Mr. Wershe's conviction. Mr. Wershe has appealed to the governor of the state, Rick Snyder, in an effort for clemency, so far falling on deaf ears. Rick Wershe, White Boy Rick, is to this day incarcerated in the Michigan Corrections Institution that he's been at for 27 years. Now, we're going to come back after the break and talk to Mr. Wershe's appellate attorney. Mr. Wershe's appellate attorney today getting that horrible, horrible news about his continued incarceration. Now, that's not to say that there might not be something new around the corner. Is there some other way that they could spring White Boy Rick? We'll talk to appellate attorney Peter Van Hoek next on The Full Melt Show. Don't go away.
You're getting The Full Melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Door Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moves from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the big cup competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
We are misleading young people when we tell them that marijuana is just like having a beer. It's not. And the marijuana that kids are smoking today is not the same as the marijuana that Jeb Bush smoked 40 years ago. We do. Sorry, Barbara.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
I'm on need someone to help me.
So the Detroit Free Press today reported a story we've been telling you about. White boy Rick denied by the Court of Appeals today a new sentence. This has been a sordid and long story over time. It's been some 27 years since Mr. Rick Wershe has been in prison. We'll ask his appellate attorney, now Peter Van Hoek, what's going on with this case. Peter, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Are you able to hear us okay? Everything's all right with the audio?
I can hear you, yes. A little bit of buzz, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, I apologize for that. Say, tell us what the stage is set like right now. What is the current state of affairs? What happened today in the Court of Appeals?
Okay, well, when Judge Hathaway in Wayne Circuit Court first granted Mr. Wershe's motion and ordered him to be resentenced, the Wayne County prosecutor filed an emergency appeal of that to the Michigan Court of Appeals. Pleadings last week, and the Michigan Court of Appeals today issued an order which essentially overruled Judge Hathaway's decision and reversed that. So to them, there's going to be no resentencing.
So is this putting a complete stop on what's going on with Mr. Wershe's case? Do we have the Court of Appeals or the Court of Appeals decision could be appealed to the Supreme Court? Yes.
Yes. This puts a stop at this point to the resentencing that was ordered by Judge Hathaway. Now, Mr. Wershe has a separate federal case about his parole decision that's pending in the Western District of Michigan, but this does not affect that directly.
Now, is he sentenced? I thought he was originally sentenced under state law. Is that the case?
Yes, it's all under state law. He's a state prisoner, but there's a federal, what's called a 1983 action been filed regarding the parole decision that was made in 2003 and the fact that he has not received a further hearing since that point in time.
So,
but his conviction and his sentence was all under state law, not federal law.
Did you think that there was going to be a lot of hope with this resentencing request to the Court of Appeals? Did you think there was a good chance that this might happen? Was this a surprise decision?
A good chance. It's a very complicated situation, and it basically arises from several decisions of the United States Supreme Court in the past 5 to 6 years, specifically dealing with the sentencing and the culpability of juveniles as compared to adults. Now, Mr. Wershe was technically a juvenile at the time of his conviction. He was 17, and the U.S. Supreme Court defines a juvenile as anyone under 18. And in a number of cases, particularly a case called Graham, they dealt with the fact that a trial judge should have the opportunity at the time of sentencing to consider all the scientific and other evidence dealing with why juveniles should be treated differently. And no one's ever had that opportunity with Mr. Wershe.
It's a frustrating thing, this juvenile sentencing thing, isn't it?
It's frustrating.
I mean, from the standpoint of understanding how the juvenile mind works, why they treat juveniles differently from adults, and then they've also seemed, in many cases, in many states, for certain offenses, especially severe offenses, have moved the bar back where we're going to charge this person as if they were an adult. What's all that about?
Yeah. Well, this is a little different than treating somebody in juvenile court versus adult court. These are cases where somebody has been treated, like in Michigan, even though they're of a certain age, they can be charged and sentenced and convicted as an adult. What the U.S. Supreme Court is talking about is a little different than that. It's that if you're being charged and you're facing the same type of sentence as an adult is, and you're a juvenile for some cases, that the judge, in deciding on your sentence, has to take into account all of this evidence and scientific findings dealing with why juveniles are different, both in brain development and in culpability and amenability to rehabilitation. And that's what the U.S. Supreme Court has been talking about. And that's what Judge Hathaway wanted to do with Mr. Wershe, was to re-sentence him and take into account those type of factors, the fact that he was a juvenile when he was convicted.
Let's just say that this was probably something that could be considered a youthful indiscretion, and that this person is young enough that rehabilitation is a likelihood, not the opposite.
Yes, I mean the brain. It's a very complicated area of science, but the science on the development of people's brains deals with the fact that as a juvenile, certain portions of your brain don't develop as quickly. The control center of your brain doesn't develop as quickly as other parts of your brain that can lead to impulsive behavior, short-term thinking, and that a recognition of that is not only the culpability, whether you're as responsible at the time, but as you mature and you get older and your brain develops, then you're much more amenable to rehabilitation. You're a lot different person at the age of like 46, what Mr. Wershe is now, than he was at 17. Not just because he's gone through this thing, but his brain is developed. He's now as an adult and has the ability to deal with his behavior differently than he did back then.
To use the part of his brain that would filter knee-jerk reaction, so to speak.
Sure.
That would give you pause to change your initial reaction to something different when you actually reacted.
Yes. You have control. I mean, the part of your brain that controls that makes you stop and say, "Boy, I shouldn't do this. This is a risk. This is what might happen long term.
This is a bad idea." It gives you a chance to incorporate some hindsight into present day. If I do this, there's going to be some consequences, or this is not a good idea. I should not be engaged in this activity right now.
Sure. Any of us growing up, think back when you were that age. Something sounded like fun, and you went and did
Let's do it.
Not thinking about
right.
The long-term implications of that.
So now, how does this Supreme Court decision impact on the case overall, as it was reviewed by the Appellate Court in Michigan today?
Well, the complicating factor is this: Mr. Wershe, with different attorneys back in 2001, filed what's called under Michigan law a motion for relief from judgment. The short term of that, attorney says a 6500 motion. That's the number of the court rule. He filed that back in 2001. That was denied in 2003. Under the current rules, after 1995, you could file one such motion. There's an exception to that says you can file a second or successive motion, but you have to establish that there was either new evidence, and that's not relevant in Mr. Wershe's case, or that there's a retroactive change in the law. Now, what his attorney argued and what I've been arguing is that these recent Supreme Court cases, which were from 2010, 2014, talking about juvenile sentencing, is a retroactive change in the law because nobody really knew that science. Nobody considered that, certainly not back in 2001, certainly not back in 1989 when the crime occurred. And that's what Judge Hathaway was intending to do, was to take that information, the rationale of those cases, and apply it to Mr. Wershe. Because, as I said, no judge has ever sentenced him to anything but a mandatory life sentence and never took into account, because of that, his age at the time of the crime.
Now, originally he was sentenced to life with no parole, correct? Under the Kingpin law.
That was the law back then. And that was changed in Michigan shortly thereafter. Now the sentence was changed to life with parole, and then subsequently has been changed twice more. And now currently, if the same crime was committed today, the sentence would be life or any term of years and or a fine. So you could actually just get fined and not do any prison time at all.
What? I mean, that just seems so vastly different. Bipolar versions of what you could be sentenced as under a crime.
Right, and that's what Judge Hathaway wanted, to sentence him under the current statute, which would give her discretion to give him a sentence other than life. And that's what the Court of Appeals said no to.
Perhaps fine him.
Well, fine him, but more likely, I don't think. I think that the statute says that. I don't think many people actually just get fined. The fine is $1 million, so it's not. It's not something that happens often. But what I'm saying is that
go back to the streets to earn that kind of money.
Now gives the judge a lot of leeway what the sentence is going to be, adult or juvenile. This isn't just juveniles. That's anybody.
I'm just saying you'd have to go back to the streets to earn that kind of money. I mean, $1 million is a lot of dough.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's 46 years old. He's been in prison most of his life. I don't think he has.
No.
Income potential.
I'm being facetious. I'm just highlighting the idea that $1 million fine is a lot of money.
Right.
So now, the situation that he's in now, are you going to try and take this to the Supreme Court, or the grounds on which you could appeal to the Supreme Court?
Definitely. We now, under the rules, we have 6 days from today's date to file an application for leave to appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. I fully intend to do that probably within the next several weeks. I've got some other deadline cases, but I want to do a little bit more legal research on things. But definitely it's going to be filed, and I would say definitely it's going to be filed long before that 56 days comes out.
Have you had much feedback from the public on this? Have people contacted you and said, thank you for doing what you're doing? I mean, I know you guys are probably not working for much money in this appellate situation. I mean, are you guys appointed by the state? Is that how this works?
Yes, I work for what's called the State Appellate Defender Office. We are a state agency. We're basically a public defender at the appellate level for the entire state. We handle assigned appeals. So my office was appointed, and it came to me as one of the senior attorneys. So I'm paid we have our own budget. I'm paid a salary. I'm not doing this.
I got you.
Yeah. So we're an appointing thing, and so we have our own budget. But I've had some contact from the public. It mainly has been more media and people involved in the case and stuff. So, but there has been some.
Is it true that I mean, it seems to me from the stories that are out there about what happened here, and there are a lot of news stories and news accounts about this.
Yes.
But it seems to me that there is a connection with the federal government here in a situation where, you were just talking about how you've got a young mind and it's different than an adult mind, and that they didn't take this into account in sentencing. But as it pertains to the actual subject, and I realize that for legal purposes, this isn't something you can argue anymore. But just for historical reference, isn't it the situation that the FBI was using Rick Wershe as an informant? Weren't they really utilizing him? Weren't they a tool and implement of the federal government in their drug war?
Yes, that's all the information I've gotten. Like I said, I've only been on this case a couple of weeks, but I've read a number of articles and talked to people, and it seems relatively clear that Mr. Wershe was involved with people in the drug business. He was also acting as an informant for the FBI, apparently from the age of 14 on. And there were that went on, in fact, even went on after he was in prison of different things. So there's a very long and very complicated and divisive history of this case. It's just not a simple case that Mr. Wershe at age 17 was dealing drugs and was caught. I mean, there's a lot more to this case that.
Well, it just seems to me. It seems to me like the federal government likely was in a situation where they were using this young man for their own device and purposes, getting him involved deeper in the trade of drugs, and then later going back to claim that he was a drug kingpin. This just doesn't pass the smell test on this end to me.
Well, like I said, it's there's a lot of information out there, and people have come forward. I know he had law enforcement people testify on his behalf at the parole hearing and brought this out. There's a lot of information. Certainly, that's not an uncommon thing for law enforcement people to have people informants on the inside and helping them out, and at the same time, people they're involved in the business because that's the only way they could actually be an informant and know anything. So it's it's one
thing though to take an existing situation and roll it. In other words, you caught Mr. Wershe in a drug deal or in some transaction, or you had some evidence of wrongdoing, and you go to Mr. Wershe and you say, "Look, Mr. Wershe, we're going to charge you, or you can, turn in the people that you're working with." Mm-hmm. It's one thing to do that, and I understand the turnkey system involved in doing that. There's some common sense and logic in law enforcement when you follow that line. However, when you take and you make his involvement in the drug community deeper by working him as an informant and getting him in with the next guy and using those contacts at the government level to work him into a senior group so that he could inform on them, and then later say that his activity was illegal and stood on its own, it It baffles me. So,
well, I mean, that's the allegation of what I mean. I can't speak personally
right.
with
No, I
knowledge,
get that.
but certainly that was a long time ago, but there's been a lot of people that have come forward with information that way, and it does seem very difficult to understand how the government can use them on one hand for their own ends, and then sort of
turn on him,
disregard him, and even fight his parole later.
And the reason I think that the thing that makes me so mind-boggled about this is that if you were talking about an adult, somebody who had that frame of mind, whose brain was fully developed and could say, no, what you're doing here is bad, and you could end up making this worse for me by having me involved in doing what you're asking me to do. An adult may have denied that opportunity, whereas Mr. Wershe was young, manipulative, and also manipulatable, and so they did. And so that's what bugs me about this. So what's next? Because we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I just wanted to kind of get a wrap-up on where this might be going. What is the future for White Boy Rick in your eyes?
Well, hopefully Michigan will be able to convince the Michigan Supreme Court that what Judge Hathaway did was reasonable and legally authorized. Understand that Rick Wershe may be the only person serving time in the Michigan prison system that in this situation as being a juvenile way back then and still serving this sentence. As far as we can tell, there may only be one other present inmate who was in his same situation, and that was a more difficult case. So, as I said in my plea, this is not, if they uphold what Judge Hathaway did, this is not opening the floodgates. It's basically him alone because nobody anymore is serving a mandatory life sentence. It's all discretionary. So, and that makes a big difference being mandatory. So, hopefully the Supreme Court will go our way. Hopefully they'll allow Judge Hathaway to resentence him. If that doesn't happen, then certainly, as I said, he's eligible for parole, but he's not scheduled to be reconsidered for parole until 2017.
I have to thank you. We're going to hit the break now, and I think the music is probably going to blare you out. But I so appreciate your participating on the program, Mr. Van Hoek. I wish you luck in what's going on with this. Mr. Wershe certainly needs your assistance.
Okay. Well, thanks, Bob. Feel free to call me if you got any further questions about it.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Okay.
When we come back from the break, we'll be talking to another attorney. This guy involved in the city of Warren. This is another Michigan story. This guy suing the city of Warren over the medical marijuana law in Michigan and their use of that law or misuse of that law. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
Get ready, let's go. Hey now, na na na. Oh, hey now, let's go. Yeah, I've got style. I'll make it wild. I'll change it up and switch it up so versatile. I'll be myself and I'm gonna let everybody know.
We have the latest styles to mix it and mash it. So make it your own and bend the trend. JCPenney. When it fits, you feel it. During the JCPenney Back to School Hot Sale, get an extra $10 off when you spend $25 or more with coupon. Nike, Converse, Levi's, and other exclusions apply.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moved from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the big competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
We ask people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
It's really easy to find us on iTunes. Go to thefullmelt.com. Find the iTunes link. It's right there at the top of the page. Click and subscribe. It's just that easy. So there was this story, and you know, I love to follow the legal stories. The legal stories have so much impact. I mean, they are what changes what happens, I don't know, on the stage that you act in. When law happens, when case law happens, when legislative law changes, it impacts what you can do and what you can't do without consequence. And so I think it's very important when there is legal action taken as pushback to government opposition or apparent government opposition, or what seems to me to be blatant government opposition, to the proliferation of cannabis on any level, whether it's medical marijuana or whether it's retail cannabis. When there's law created and then people act seemingly either at the fringe of that law or outside of it, and you have to file suit in order to correct it, I think it's important to note and talk about. And so in that interest, I want to bring on Mr. Michael Greiner, who, did I say that right, Michael?
It's actually Greiner.
Greiner, I'm sorry. It's one of those names that probably gets commonly mispronounced. I apologize.
You're quite right about that.
Can you tell us the history of this situation and why this ended up becoming a case in front of the courts?
Absolutely. Well, for starters, thanks for having me on, Steve. And basically what happened is that when the law first went into effect, I sat down with a couple clients of mine, and they were obviously interested in trying to find a way of being able to make medical marijuana legally available to people in Warren. Warren is, is the third largest city in Michigan. And so what we did is we looked carefully at the law, and we looked at some of the early decisions by the courts to figure out what would lawfully be allowed. And essentially what we did is we came up with this idea of having a safe transfer center where caregivers would be able to get together with their patients in essentially a neutral location that was safe for everybody and be able to provide the medical marijuana that the folks needed to them. And it could be a place where it could be grown, and we noted the requirements that the law had in terms of what the rooms need to be, where the cannabis is grown. And there were other requirements in terms of access to the medicine. But what it came down to is we actually kind of worked our way through the law and figured out a way that it would be lawful to do this.
In other words, that the distribution center would be compliant with current state law. There would be no controversy.
Exactly right. And, and we were really, what we were doing was really reinforced by some of the early decisions that looked at some of the dispensaries and basically ruled that they were not lawful because they ruled that the law did not allow the transfer of cannabis between patients. And so we stayed away from that and really focused on trying to make it possible for caregivers to be able to safely transfer the cannabis to their patients, which is what the law allows for. And so the city of Warren, where an aggressive campaign to shut down the different dispensaries that had opened up in the city, which certainly is their right because, unfortunately, the way the law is written and the way it's been ruled on, they were illegal. However, they also went on a campaign of harassing this location operated by my clients. And the interesting thing is, despite numerous police raids, they haven't arrested anybody. They haven't essentially taken any of the marijuana that's located there because it's all legally compliant. But that hasn't stopped them from repeatedly raiding the location, sometimes without even warrants, basically holding guns on the people who are there, stopping people randomly who are leaving the location, which is not allowed under the law, and denying and writing zoning violation tickets to this place, even though, again, they're completely in compliance with the law as is.
Now, let me just clarify something, because it seems to me that the story that I read was that they were pulling over like all the customers that were leaving the location, not just random ones.
Oh, absolutely. No, they were pulling over everybody. If somebody, in fact, it was really something to see. They had a police car parked at a senior center across the street from this location, and as people pulled out of it, you could see that they were essentially radioing to other police cars located elsewhere, and these cars were immediately pulling over those cars. As you can imagine, the people who were coming out of there were very frightened by this whole situation.
Now, look, I can tell you that I've been in a situation before where I was at a dispensary at an Ann Arbor location. Mm-hmm. And there was a police officer who was doing exactly as you described, parked directly across the way. And at some point, this officer actually had the gall to pull into the parking lot and sit in the parking lot of the location. Now, the owner of this location was like, what's going on? I mean, come on. I'm trying to run a business here. You scared everybody away. I mean, there's a lot of people who wouldn't pull into a soda shop if the cops were sitting there. So it was almost like, hey, we're going to sit here we're going to intimidate your clientele and just push out that way. And so
that's exactly what they were trying to do.
And eventually what I said was, look, if this was my place, I'd be going up and offering the guy a soda and asking if there's something I could help him with. And then if he didn't didn't need any help, I'd ask him to kindly move because this is my place and I don't really we need you here right now.
That's right. Well, the thing we have to remember is we do have private property rights here in the United States. It still is a free country. And the police coming in and trying to seize stuff without any kind of warrant and doing this kind of harassment is not allowed under the law. And really, that's the basis of our lawsuit that we filed.
It seems to me that I have a lot of dirty reports from people, and I'm not trying to pile on. I'm not. I'm just reflecting what I know. A lot of dirty reports about nasty business going down in Warren over medical marijuana. So your case is kind of an example of that, isn't it?
It totally is. And one thing to point out is, by the way, is we've got over 23 plaintiffs already on the lawsuit. We've had people coming out of the woodwork since we announced this, as you can imagine. All kinds of people telling similar stories about harassment. And basically what it appears is, despite the fact that more than 65% of the people of this city voted in favor of the law back in 2008, the city fathers, as they were, have decided that they're going to stop it from happening, because they just don't like it in one way, shape, or form. And the mayor, Mayor Fouts, has basically admitted that on numerous occasions, that they just want to stop medical marijuana from happening in Warren. And guess what? State law allows it, so they can't do that.
Michael, I can tell you that I was one of the guys that was in the pool of people that was worming their way through the courts on the Wyoming decision, the eventual Wyoming decision, where local ordinances were being created that were in conflict with state law, that actually subverted state law, and said that you're not going to enjoy your medical marijuana rights here. That's what the offense essentially said. You can't do that in our city limits or within our jurisdiction. And the Wyoming ruling said, I'm talking about Terbeek versus Wyoming, or Wyoming, Terbeek. That this situation is not feasible. You can't do this at the local level. You can't change the law, state law, with local ordinance.
Exactly.
And isn't that really exactly kind of maybe what your situation hinges on here? Isn't this based on the Terbeek decision?
That is completely. And in fact, we cite the Terbeek decision multiple times in our complaints. I'll tell you, one of the big surprises for me as I started putting this together was I was concerned as to the essentially the legal theory that we'd be able to base this lawsuit on. And then I saw the Terbeek decision. I'll tell you, I mean, you read that, the Michigan Supreme Court was unequivocal on this. Local municipalities cannot get in the way of medical marijuana. End of story, no matter what they want to do. It was a very strong decision. And it even said, by the way, that they can't base any kind of opposition to it on any kind of federal preemption or anything. They said that it really doesn't relate. So the Michigan Supreme Court is what the local communities have to follow around here. And the fact that they're basically thumbing their noses at it really is an outrage.
So I'm in Lyon Township, Michigan. And Lyon Township was one of these cities that crafted a Livonia-like ordinance. Livonia crafted an ordinance like that kind of spawned, I think, the Wyoming ordinance.
Right.
And so they all, these township associations, they share their information. They try, when they have some success or create a new ordinance or something, they kind of share it with other people. They craft new stuff based on that. And so when my answer to this, when the police came here without a warrant twice and conducted what essentially was a raid, and found me acting within the limitations of the Medical Marijuana Act that provide you protection. So they, I had basically Section 4 protection. I was undeniable. And so because they continued to harass me and continued to try and raid me, tried to get me kicked out of here, tried all kinds of what I would consider unscrupulous techniques to dislodge me from this community. I fought back and I sued them. I sued Oakland County and I sued the Sheriff's Department and was successful in getting them off my back. It seems like lawsuit seems to be the answer, a bulletproof answer to fighting back in an arena, especially where the case law is already on your side. So I congratulate you, Michael, for doing what you're doing, because it's the only way that they'll listen again as to what's going on. Listen to the people as they've ascribed what they want the law to be. And
absolutely,
that's really what the fight is about. Is it the people, or is it the people we've elected to say what the law is? And right now it's the people, isn't it, Michael?
It totally is. And as I say, in Warren, we've had overwhelming support for the law back in 2008. And I can tell you just from my own experience that it's gotten even more favorable now because people know the benefits that they can get from this type of medicine. And the fact that the city is standing against it really just shows how out of touch city leaders are. And unfortunately, it's going to require that we go to court to enforce what the people want.
Look, you said that people were coming out of the woodwork and that there were 23 people that have piled onto your case. Is this class action now? Are you going to certify this for class action? Or are you just representing these guys individually, or what's that? What does that mean?
Well, the way the process works is first you have to file the lawsuit, and then basically you need to go to the court and request that it be certified as a class. We do plan on requesting that it be certified as a class, and that it makes sense because let's face it, all the people in Warren, really throughout Macomb County, who've been scared away from having access to the medicine that they're lawfully allowed to get access to, they have a common complaint, and that's what class actions are all about. So we're certainly going to be going to the court and asking that we can bring this whole class in front of the court and really get some relief for everybody who's been harmed as a result of this unlawful behavior.
I can tell you that there have been people that have whispered in my ear that they have recordings, video and audio recordings of aberrant behavior on the part of the law enforcement individuals going in and conducting some of this harassment. I'm going to try and lean them your way. I think they're trying to be quiet about it. I don't know. I'm hoping that perhaps we can pile some of that evidence into your arena, because it would be certainly a bombshell.
Absolutely. I can tell you, we are definitely looking for people who are interested in participating, and there'll be a lot more information coming out in the near future. So I would request that people look out for that.
Michael, we would be happy to be a mouthpiece for that. When you've got new information coming forth, you let me know, and we will trumpet it on Mountain High.
Definitely will.
Thank you so much for coming on, Michael, and we will talk to you soon. Good luck in this case. We'll be following it very closely. Oh, did I lose you? Are you there? I think I might have lost him. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show. So listen.
Okay.
Oh, there he is. He's there.
Yep, thank you. We seem to be going in and out.
That's okay. I apologize. Thank you for coming on. We're going to be following your case very closely. We're running into the break. When we come back from the break, more news. There's some more news, believe it or not. Oh, it's endless. It never seems to end here on the program. You've got to stick by. After this commercial break, we will bring that on the air.
You're getting the full melt.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Got something to hide? Cannalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Cannalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Cannalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at cannalock.com. Visit cannalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Listen, in the interest of furthering the news, because I got 3 stories I want to cover before the end of the program here today, I got to tell you that they're still jailing people on the federal level for cannabis. Still sending people to prison even today for decades for pot. A Lawrence man in Lawrence City, Kansas, sentenced today to 201 months in federal prison. That's 16 plus years. In a marijuana trafficking case. He was sentenced to also a consecutive 30-month sentence on supervised release violation in a prior case. This is a 33-year-old man of Lawrence, Kansas, Barry Grissom. Roosevelt Rico Dada. I'm sorry. Roosevelt is the guy's the name, 33. And the attorney is Barry Grissom. Convicted in a jury trial last year of conspiracy using a telephone in furtherance of drug trafficking. Oh, like nobody does that. And then also possession with intent to distribute marijuana. Also possession with intent to distribute within 1,000 feet of Holcomb Sports Complex in Lawrence. So this isn't a school, it's a sports complex. There might be kids nearby. Oh, good Lord. Kill me already. I just want to cry. Because, you know, you like me, if you're like these people in this poll, say that relaxing laws against marijuana much more popular to the American public than even services like Uber and Airbnb, says a new survey conducted by NBC Wall Street Journal. Out of 1,000 American respondents in the survey, 47% said that relaxing marijuana laws counts as a step in the right direction, with only 30% opposed to less restrictive laws. So you're on board with that, right? I would say that you probably are, so much so that the Native Americans have decided that they're going to open a cannabis resort in South Dakota. You heard me right, casino-style cannabis luxury living, all on premises. hospitality included. In South Dakota, the Santee Sioux Tribe of South Dakota has big plans for the marijuana business, according to Mashable.com. On top of running a successful casino, 120-room hotel, and a buffalo ranch, the 400-person tribe, okay, let me say that again. There's 400 people in this tribe. The tribe is 400 strong. Has plans to open the nation's first marijuana resort on its reservation, says the Associated Press. We want it to be an adult playground, tribal president Anthony Ryder told the AP. There's nowhere else in America that has something like this. The playground, quote unquote, will consist of a smoking lounge fit with a nightclub, arcade games, a bar, food, and eventually, ringy-ding-ding, ding-ding-ding-ding-ding, ding-ding-ding-ding-ding, slot machines. That's right. And an outdoor music venue. Marijuana consumption of varying degrees is recreationally legal in Colorado, Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and D.C. However, public consumption is still illegal in all those places. You can't smoke the dope outside. Hide that doobie, the cops are looking. Forcing marijuana culture to stay behind closed doors. Despite public pot consumption being illegal, some cannabis clubs do operate in Colorado under a hazy, legal gray area. It's probably a purple haze. They say it's a gray haze. I say it's a purple haze. Although marijuana camps have been proposed in the past, weed-friendly hotels operate in Denver, and plenty of bud and breakfasts exist across the legal states, a full-blown weed adult playground has never been launched. Well, at least legally. Buzzkill, says the article. This won't exactly be a free-for-all. Obviously, the weed won't be able to leave the reservation. You got to smoke it there. You can't take it off site. They're going to frisk you like the TSA when you leave. Obviously, this could be uncomfortable for some people, I guess. There'll be strict rules for the guests who want to enjoy their bud. The pot will be sold in bar-coded 1-gram packages for about $12.50 to $15 a gram, which is relatively close to the price of weed purchased illegally, according to priceofweed.com. That website also lists the average price of an ounce of high-quality pot is $358.65. That'll be $368.65, please. Thank you. Wait a minute. How did you come up with the 65? Where? I don't know. I don't understand. I've never paid $358.65 or any version of an unround figure like that for weed in the entire history of my weed smoking career, which is lengthy, I must admit. Really? $358.65 or $12.78 a gram. Like most products, buying in bulk is cheaper. I guess that must be okay. So it says the average price. I see what they did. They took this price and that price and the other price, added them together, divided by the number of prices, and came up with $358.65. Which, if you do the 28 grams, you divide that by 28, you get $12.78. That's how they did it. Guests will only be allowed to buy one bag at a time, 1 gram at a time. They call it a bag, but it's just a gram. They just said they're being sold in 1 gram packages, barcoded. Then, in order to buy another bag, they'll have to return the barcoded empty package. Seriously? Really? You got to give back your old... I smoked up this pack of cigarettes. Can I have more, please? I need a refill. Can I get a refill? Looking for a refill over here. Service, please. Cerveza, por favor. Come on. This is a new venture for the Santee Sioux. As the legalization of marijuana came in June after the Justice Department issued a new policy allowing Native American tribes to grow and sell marijuana under the same conditions as some states. Breaking it out countrywide. Coast-to-coast cannabis consumption on tribal reservations across the land. If said local tribes. Some stores are independently operated. Some tribes may not participate. Okay, most tribes may not participate. Regardless, the new venture comes as a welcome opportunity for some tribes, which are smuggling. Okay, they're not smuggling. They're struggling. Was that a Freudianism? It might have been a Freudianism. A Freudian slip, or I like to call them Sloidian frips. which are struggling with economic issues. Because, not all tribes are ready to get into the pot business. I just told you that. Not all tribes. This one will be the first. Regardless, the new venture comes as a welcome opportunity. The vast majority of the tribes have little to no economic opportunity. Blake Trueblood, Business Development Director at the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development, told the AP. For those tribes, this is something that you might look at and say, we got to do something. The tribe is currently building its first growing facility, which has approximately 30 strains. To help the newbies with the effort, the tribe hired Denver-based consulting firm Monarch America to get them started. This is not a fly-by-night operation, said Jonathan Hunt, Monarch's vice president and chief grower. Tribal leaders want to show the state how clean, how efficient, how proficient, safe, and secure this is as an operation. We're not looking to do anything shady. Shade aside, the operation hopes to generate up to $2 million in profit a month and plans on kicking things off. Oh, this is the big one. Might have to do a show from there. It'd be the grandest New Year's Eve party ever. That's right. They're going to open up on December 31st for a New Year's Eve party. Can we do a live broadcast from South Dakota at the Santee Souix Tribe? The adult playground is entirely dependent on the current administration's allowance for tribes to sell weed. Plenty of people running for president in 2016 would love to squash that. That's all the time we got for today. I feel like Mr. Rogers now. And the door is closing. The window of opportunity for cannabis discussion is leaving. Elvis has left the building, stoned and squinty-eyed as somebody from South Asia. Okay, coming back tomorrow with more cannabis news and information. We will see you then. Until then, farewell and 420-isms.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.